This is Tar Heel Talk, an in-depth look at the issues and people making news in North Carolina. Here's your host, Sonia Williams.
The holiday season is a time for joy and celebration, but for many, it's also a time for high stress levels and depression. Our expert today will help us put together a strategy to make it through this holiday season emotionally healthy. She is Doreen Martin, psychiatric nurse practitioner with Carolina Partners in Mental Health. Doreen, welcome to Tar Heel Talk.
Thank you. I'm glad to be here.
The holiday season it's a joyous time for many of us, but it's also a time for high stress. Why is it so stressful?
Well, for a lot of people, it's not a joyous time for them. For someone who's lost a loved one, it could be a sad time. Someone who has anxiety, the busyness of the holiday, shopping, spending money that you may not have, so financial strain, loneliness, those things can cause it not to be such a joyous time for them.
Okay. So you've put together some tips on managing stress during the holiday season.
Yes.
And I want to talk through some of those. And I know the first one is that you need to breathe.
Yes.
That's important.
Very, very important, because you can find yourself, going from one task or errand to the other and never take a moment to just kind of relax and say, okay, I've gotten these things done. Let me just, sit for a moment, and then you can carry on with your day. But it will help decrease your anxiety for sure.
Mm-hmm. Just practicing breathing, and I know that there are some apps that you can put on your phone. Calm is one of my favorites.
Yes.
That will help you kind of talk through the breathing process and just kind of de-stress throughout the day.
Throughout the day, yeah. Taking deep breaths really help.
Mm-hmm.
So I recommend it.
Absolutely. And it's important during this time of year to plan ahead. Talk about that.
So you want to make a list if you're for shopping for one, okay, planning ahead. And then you also, if you're traveling, make your plans early, pack early so that you're not feeling rushed to do everything at, like a day or two before. That can cause increased stress, anxiety, panic attacks. So when I say plan ahead, that is one of the things. Those are the things that I'm talking about.
When you talk to your clients and hear some of the things that they're going through during this time of year, what kind of feedback are you getting? What are some of the major issues that people are dealing with during the holiday season?
Holidays. Mm-hmm. Well, just this evening, before coming here, I was talking to someone who lost their mother around this time. Mm-hmm. And for her, it's a sad time. She's planning to spend time with her husband, and she has lots of pets that she loves, so those things are comforting. But just remembering her mom and the good times they had together is what I encouraged her to do. Even looking at photos, it's okay to say that you're sad. You don't have to, pretend to be happy or smile, but talk to someone. And for her, it would be her husband, but just anyone who's going through that, you want to talk to them.
Absolutely, and acknowledge those feelings that you're having.
Definitely acknowledge them.
Mm-hmm. Another tip is learn to say no. That's major. I think
Yes.
A lot of us will overcommit during the holiday season. I'm guilty of that. But learning to say no can be powerful.
Very, very much so. We all like to celebrate around the holidays. There's a lot of parties, gatherings. So, it's okay to choose the ones that you're wanting to go to, or say no when you're feeling tired and losing your joy. Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And another tip is to avoid conflicts. What do you mean by that?
When families get together, there's lots of fun and you're glad to see each other. It's been a while since, you've been together. But then there's also family members that can cause stress or cause, we call them toxic. people that come in, and they may say something, ask you questions you don't want to answer, or someone can say something, they take it the wrong way, and the situation can get very heated really fast. And instead of it being a happy occasion, and someone is upset, feelings are hurt. So if you can avoid conflict, if that is happening and you see things getting heated, you can choose to walk away from it and let things calm down and then come back. So that's one example of that.
And sometimes it's easier to just say no to that family gathering.
Absolutely, yeah. And if you know there's a potential for a situation to get heated, or there, conflict be there, you can say no.
Another tip is perfection. Avoid obsessing over doing it all, and try not to sweat the small things. That's
right. So, that can include a lot of things. Like if you're someone that wants to make sure your house is perfect, or if if you like to wrap gifts and you want to make sure like that bow isn't just right. It's just, or planning the perfect party. Making sure your food is right, it's on time. All of those things are things that I would recommend. Just relaxing and realizing that it's not what the purpose of what this time of the year is. It's mostly about enjoying family. So if you can not get caught up in being perfect, everything being just right, and just enjoying the moment, I think it would serve you better.
Do people put too much pressure on themselves? I know I'm one who likes to coordinate my holiday wrapping paper with my Christmas decorations, so everything has to match and be laid out perfectly underneath my tree. But are people just putting too much pressure on themselves and really losing sight of what the holidays season is really about?
I would have to say there are people that do that, because if that's your personality already, to have things coordinated, and during this season there's other pressures on you to go to this event and do that and buy gifts, and it could just be overwhelming. So it happens. You can avoid it by just saying, okay, I know they're going to enjoy this present regardless, and it's the thought, it's something I know that they'll like, and let it go, and they're not going to know what your intentions were in regarding to, the way you wrap the present.
Absolutely.
So.
And you said the perfect term, letting some things go. I think a lot of times we can overthink our holiday gift giving and even party planning.
Absolutely, yeah.
And that can be very stressful.
I've been there. And so I'm talking from experience about letting it go when if you like to give parties and you want every detail covered. And so I also share that with my clients.
Absolutely. We're going to take a break. We'll talk more in just a minute.
Yes.
Up next, how to find your joy this holiday season. We'll give you strategies when Tar Heel Talk continues. Stress and depression can ruin your holiday and even make you sick. Today's guest is sharing tips on how to ward off stress this holiday season and enjoy it. With us again is Doreen Martin. She is a psychiatric nurse practitioner with Carolina Partners in Mental Health. Now, before the break, you were sharing some tips on how to manage stress. And I know a major one is, just being able to take care of yourself during this holiday season. Talk a little bit more about that and what that looks like.
Okay. So, as we get all our tasks done for everything that we have planned, everything we want to do, we can be so involved in that we forget to eat, to take our medications, to get enough sleep, and to exercise. So those are the things that I would like to just remind, people to just take a moment and remember, I got to eat lunch, or let me at least try to get 6 to 8 hours of sleep. Let me walk around the neighborhood, and it'll help decrease your stress for sure.
And I know there are some people who overindulge in whether it's food or alcohol during this holiday season. Talk a little bit about how people need to be mindful of those things as well.
Okay, and it is important not to overindulge or binge eat on all the great foods, home cooked, cakes and pies. It definitely, those things can cause increased weight that you're not wanting, can elevate someone who has diabetes, can elevate their blood sugar, can cause an elevation in your blood pressure depending on how the food is seasoned. So I recommend just, eating, a nice portion, enjoy it, and just, when you feel full, and, you want to stop. Same, goes for, wine, champagne, all the nice drinks that we have during the season. You don't want to overindulge because it also can do the same thing. It can, if there is a health condition, it can make it worse, or it can put you at risk for, your inhibitions are lowered, and you may do something that you wouldn't normally do. So I don't recommend those either. So, indulging in the drinks, the alcoholic drinks.
Right. And there are a lot of gatherings that happen during the holiday season, and so people need to be selective and mindful of the things that they're doing.
Absolutely, yeah. Because if not, it may be something you did and you just wish you hadn't. So just taking a moment just to think about what you're getting ready to do, and if it's going to be something that you'll enjoy and not regret.
Now, as you were talking about in the first segment, the holiday season is not always a joyous time for many people. They may have lost a loved one, and they're thinking about that person during this time. Depression is very real, and something that people struggle with during the holiday season in particular. Talk a little bit about how people can help manage that.
I sure can. So if you are going to be alone, you can make plans to spend time with family, friends, or you can volunteer. Because sometimes when you have depression and then you're alone during the holidays, it could make it even worse. You know. So those are ways you can get out of the house and not be by yourself and help lift your spirits.
Right. So it's important to, like you said, make a plan.
Right.
And positive thinking can also be helpful.
Yes, positive thinking. Sometimes we can talk negative to ourselves. No one else knows what's going on, but you're saying, why did I do that? Or, I shouldn't call them because they're not going to want to talk to me. Just that you can get so caught up in those thoughts and not even reach out to someone who would love to spend the afternoon with you or take you to dinner, So, yes, positive thinking.
And you also recommend exercise and getting out and to the sun, even if it's cold, getting outside.
Yes, sunlight will help if your mood is down, and walking, just getting out and moving around will help lift your mood.
And for some people, that professional help is extremely important in managing depression and dealing with depression. Talk about the importance of that professional support.
Okay. So if you're someone that has depression going into the holiday season, and you're already taking medications for that, but you realize that your depression is worsening and you're sad and you're not wanting to get up out of bed, and you don't know if your meds are working, I would recommend highly calling your provider and letting them know what's going on with you sooner than later. A lot of offices close during the holidays, so if you feel like you're going to need an adjustment in your medications, please call them. if you haven't been diagnosed with depression or anxiety, and particularly depression, and you're feeling really sad, not wanting to talk to anyone, do anything, and you feel like you need professional help, then you can go to a local emergency room during this time. If you don't have a primary care provider, if you have someone, then reach out to them. But if not, there's urgent care emergency room that you can get help.
Right. And there are a number of resources for people who might need that additional support as well. A lot of numbers that they can call and websites. They can call the Hope Line Crisis Intervention at 919-231-4525 or 1-877-235-4525. And yeah, there are lots of different support systems in place. So the important thing is recognizing what you're feeling, acknowledging what you're feeling, and reaching out for help.
Absolutely, yes. And those lines are there. If someone feels really sad and they feel like they don't want to live anymore, then the National Suicide Line, the Hope Helpline, the NAMI helpline, you can call or text.
Okay.
Even if you feel like you can't talk.
Absolutely. That number is 1-800-950-6264. And like you said, if you don't feel like you want to talk and you just want to text, sometimes that's easier. You can do that as well.
Right. And that's the Hope Line Crisis Intervention, right? One of the ones I mentioned that you can call or text, and NAMI, you can call or text.
Definitely resources that are available to help support people who might need that additional support during the holidays. Right, we're going to take another break. We'll talk more in just a minute. We're back with more on surviving the holidays after these messages. Welcome back to Tar Heel Talk. I'm Sonia Williams. The holiday season is a time for joy and celebration for many, but it also can be a time for stress and depression. And we're talking today with Doreen Martin. She's a psychiatric nurse practitioner who is sharing strategies on managing stress and depression during the holidays. Thank you again for being with us.
Oh, thank you for having me.
When you talk about managing stress during the holidays, for some people it can be just overload because they're trying to do everything. What is the first piece of advice that you share with your patients?
So first thing I share with them is do only what you feel you can do without increasing your or causing stress, you know, and don't be afraid to say, I can't, I would like to, but I just can't do this.
So yeah, just kind of recognizing your limits and placing those boundaries. I love that. That's one of my phrases for 2018 is just boundaries, setting those boundaries and knowing your limits.
And you'll be amazed at how, you know, how helpful that is, just, you know, being able to do that.
Absolutely. And we were talking about the holiday season being a time that's sad for some people, especially if they've lost a loved one, whether it's recently or if this time of year brings up certain memories. And one thing that you share with your clients is that it's okay to grieve.
Oh, yes. Because if you don't grieve, then you holding all of that inside can make you, you know, feel even worse. And you know, people are expecting this time of the year to be a happy time, all, you know, for everyone, but it's not so, you know, and it's okay to say, you know, I want to talk about, you know, I lost my husband, or I lost my, you know, sister. This time of year is sad for me. And then, you know, find that person that knows you and would be willing to listen and talk to you about it. And they can comfort you.
What does that look like? How do you grieve in a healthy way, in a productive way, if you will, during this holiday season? What does that look like?
What does it look like? So it's going to be individualized for each person. For someone, it could be just, looking at old photos. It could be doing an annual tradition that the person that you lost, did in the past. It could be just having someone that you can talk to about all the things you miss about that person. Cooking, the meal that they did, just, it could be those things. And for some, it could be just, you want to just be at home and reflect on these things without anyone. And if you're okay with doing that, and you, it's not gonna worsen your sadness to the point that it makes you really depressed, I'd say, stay at home if you want to, and then make plans to visit family and friends later. That it could be okay for someone that can handle that.
And support groups can also be helpful this time of year.
Yes, and there are support groups in the area. If you're, comfortable going online, you can just Google, whatever support group that you're looking for, and we have a lot of them in the area. So, and then you can get support that way.
Right. And when you talk about managing stress during the holiday season, because we all, let's face it, we all have some amount of stress, whether it's with your decorating, your party planning, gift giving, there's stress. The first thing to do, as you recommend, is to just breathe. Yes. There's power in that.
There is, and it'll just, stop all that nervous energy that you have. And when you're feeling overwhelmed, some people can feel short of breath. They can feel like their heart's racing. You're feeling a lot of physical symptoms, nausea, sweating. So if you just kind of take some deep breaths slow, and it'll help to slow all of that down for you.
Right. And then planning ahead is also key to reducing that stress.
Yes, will prevent you being in situations where you have to get it done right now. And if I don't get this toy for my granddaughter, she's going to be disappointed, and you've been through all of the stores and they're all sold out. But if you planned ahead, you could have ordered it like maybe online or a month ago, so that's an example.
Right,
yes.
Right. As you work with patients during the holiday season, what are some of the major things that you're finding that they are facing?
So major would be they're already anxious, and they've gotten to a point where it's good. They're afraid of it getting worse with the pressure of attending a lot of activities, not feeling that they can say no, being in the company of someone that may ask them a question that they don't want to answer, and not feeling comfortable in how they can answer that. Just the busyness of the season itself.
Right, it's extremely busy. We have about a minute left in the program. What final advice would you have for our viewers who are trying to navigate this holiday season and keep their sanity intact?
So I would say final advice is plan ahead if you can, say no when you need to, and get plenty of rest.
Absolutely. Excellent advice, and things that are very important for us all to do. Doreen Martin, nurse practitioner with Carolina Partners in Mental Health, thank you so much for your expertise and for helping us try to get through this holiday season.
Thank you. Thank you so much for having me.
All right. That's it for this week's Tar Heel Talk. To comment on this or other episodes of the show, like us on Facebook, follow us on Instagram, or send us an email to tarheeltalk@fox50.com. I'm Sonia Williams. Thanks so much for watching. We'll see you again next week.